grandparents. I was fortunate one year to actually find the village of my father's birth. Get a little emotional. I still have my father. He turns 94 in just a few weeks. There I am, and have you ever seen the Ukrainian flag? Do you know what it represents? I thought this picture could help. It's the blue sky over the beautiful golden wheat fields. Speaking of beautiful, there's my wife and I. We were just driving along, and we told our driver and friend, pull over. We want this picture. He says, why? You see this everywhere. I said, not where we're from. So the history of Ukraine is something that a lot of people may not understand in our mission spotlight. It was founded by three brothers and their sister, Libid. And it's thought that Ukrainians are a mixture of people known as the Scythians and, of course, the Viking traders and Mongolian invaders. Traders and invaders. It was founded back around 482 AD. That is a long time ago. So that's when Rome, of course, was switching over from pagan to the current papal. And if you look at our Ukrainian dollar bill there, you'll see the three brothers and the sister right there on the money. So I was walking along in Kiev one day, and I stopped three fellas. And by the way, we love to wear these shirts. They're called Vyshyvankas. The third Thursday of every May, everybody wears. You would wear aloha wear, well, we wear Vyshyvankas. They're embroidered shirts. And you can see these three fellows. You got one with dark hair, the red hair, and the one that has maybe more Asian features. I said, hey fellas, I'm from America. Can we get your picture? And they were more than happy to. Now, we used to call the area where Ukraine is now Kievan Rus. Rus means the land. It's something that was used for many, many years prior and around the Middle Ages. Rus was taken around 1500s by a Tsar to the north named Ivan the Terrible, and they became Russians, though it was an original Ukrainian word. When we talk about the history of Russia, they have to admit it goes back to where? Kiev, which was Ukrainian. So I'll be sharing that to you in a moment, how that happened. There's a lot of titles attributed to Ukraine: Gates to Asia, Shield of Europe, the Gate to Europe, the Breadbasket, and the most beautiful women, intelligent men in the world. I just threw that one in. So we are the second largest country in Europe after Russia, and of course the third being France. Our country, Ukraine, Ukraina means in the country, or place in the country, and it's the 8th most populous country in Europe. I can't begin to tell you how beautiful it is. I remember one time we were driving along and I turned to Renee and said, honey, I said, what have you seen now for 2 hours? And she said, oceans, oceans of wheat. It just goes on and on. The cities were beautiful and everyone is clean. There's hardly any graffiti. There is no dirt. People will even sweep the dirt in front of their homes. Cleanliness is exactly how they live. They don't believe in trash. Back in 1187, it's the earliest written reference of Ukraine, mentions Prince Vladimir, from whom all Ukraine wept. And of course, we talk to the 1200s of Ukraine from other chronicles in Poland. Meanwhile, Moscow is not even founded yet. So here's a fun little meme that Ukrainians enjoy. When Kiev had all these churches and cathedrals and mansions, Moscow was nothing but a forest. There was no Moscow. And they love to say in Russia, well, you know we gave birth to you. And we laugh and say, no, you guys know better than that. What happened terribly to Ukraine was the Mongolian invasion. That's right. In the 13th century, the Mongols came and changed our history forever. They subjugated us for hundreds of years. And we had a division of three Slavic people, the Belarusians, the Russians, and of course the Ukrainians, and us being the ones of which everyone flows from. And while we were laying prostrate underneath the Mongolians, the Grand Duchy of Moscow, which survived the Mongolian invasion, they were so far to the north, they became the Tsars, Ivan the Terrible being the first. He was not very good. I think his name gives it away, wouldn't it, Denny?
Yeah.
He was terrible.
Terrible.
So it took centuries for us to rebuild and maintain our identity, and that's when Russia was taking us down every chance they could. But if you go and visit Ukraine, every single city and town has a beautiful garden area. They're the most Hawaiian people in Europe. Everything that can have dirt should have growth. They laugh at us Americans. They say, we don't understand you. I say, why don't you understand us Americans? Well, for one thing, we don't understand lawns. Why do you have grass in your front lawn when you can be growing things? Have you ever been on the mainland and as you're driving on the big highway, there's a median in between, right? In Ukraine, the law is if there is a government-controlled property that is not owned really by anyone, they have many of these pedestrian crossways. So you have all these people crossing into the medians and they grow everything on their own. They just love to have gardening. So that is very, very important. So wherever we went, we saw people volunteering. This is not the government. People just pay out of their own pockets to make their own towns and cities look beautiful. Here's one lady, she volunteers twice a week. I talked to her and I said, you know, in America we pay. She said, why would you pay? You're a citizen. And I said, that's very interesting. So people really have beautiful maintained areas. We were just driving along the road one time and men were just cutting hay along the highway. They don't own the property, but instead of having your county have a grass cutting machine, they do it themselves. They said it's free grass and everyone's happy. So that's the way it works, and so we were quite happy. The sidewalks are huge. Everybody takes public transportation. Very few people own cars. They like to walk. Everybody's walking and eating on these huge sidewalks they have. Also, it's the highest per capita church attendance of any country in Europe. So that doesn't make you religious or spiritual, but I think it really helps to have that community, doesn't it? And summer nights, as you can see, these beautiful buildings are all destroyed. They're all gone since the war began. But when we were there, we were excited to take these pictures and enjoy the structures, very clean. Everybody comes out at night as much as they can. We never saw anybody watching TV. We didn't see anyone staying inside. If they can, they're always outside as late as they can, and family is very, very important. They also shut down a lot of streets during the time so that people can walk up and down safely. Walk. So that is, they're in pretty good health. Now, something that people want to, I don't want to do politics. This is the Sabbath, but Mission Spotlight. Why are we helping the Ukrainians? What is our obligation to Ukraine? Well, let me give you quick facts. In 1994, the United States came to Ukraine in the form of Bill Clinton and said, if you give up all your nuclear weapons, you're the third largest nuclear power in the world. If you give them all up to Russia, we will protect you and your territorial integrity and perpetuity. You can trust the full-fledged word and credit of the United States. And I remember I said, excuse me, have you ever talked to the native Hawaiians or the Native Americans? We're not very good about that, but Ukraine agreed. I was yelling, no one listened, and that is why we're supporting them, because we have the Budapest Memorandum. The other thing is, the war, if they take Ukraine, they will go for Poland, Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia. They will go for NATO countries, and then Ukraine is basically saying this: we don't want your children to fight here. Your children need to live in America and be there for grandmothers and grandparents, right? Aunties and tutus, and just stay there. We're willing to fight. You give us the bombs and bullets and tanks, and we will shed our own blood for our own country. So really, that's what the trade is right now. This was the last celebration in Luhansk, which was taken over by Russia in 2014. And that's our traditional dress. Yes, I dress like that. I have those outfits. So what Russia has done since 2014 is slowly come in and taken different parts. They took Crimea, Donbass, Donetsk, Luhansk. They just keep getting the nose in the tent. And of course, our president, Zelensky, they like to say that we're Nazis. But our president, Zelensky, which Renee and I went to his inauguration in 2019, is Jewish. So that's a very interesting thing to throw at us. Morale is high. Here's a young man. He's quite handsome. Don't ever say that Victor Czerkasij wasn't on a tank in Ukraine. Yes, I was. So there I am standing in front of the Motherland statue, which is even bigger than the Statue of Liberty. At Christmas morning, my wife and I had breakfast with Vyacheslav Korchuk. Who is he? He is the director and president of the Ukrainian Adventist Seminary in Bucha. What happened in Bucha? Russians came and slaughtered nearly 500 people, children, women, men, and he survived. And the seminary, the Russians tried to light the seminary on fire. I've preached from the seminary. We have stayed there at the administration building. We have donated to build up the Ukrainian Adventist Seminary. Guess what? The buildings refused to light. They could not burn the Adventist seminary. So they broke some windows, they stole some computers, and that is replaceable. But Vyacheslav, to thank us for our support, brought me gifts on Christmas morning in Orlando. One time I was walking through the city of Poltava, and I saw 17 and 18-year-olds, about 20, 30 of them, both boys and girls, taking apart AK-47s and pistols and putting them back together blindfolded. This was about 2018. I walked up to them, I said, hi. And see, I'm wearing a vyshyvanka. I said, what are you guys doing? I said, I'm American. They're like, wait, you sound like Ukrainian. I said, no, we're from America. And what are you doing? And they said, we're preparing. I said, what are you preparing for? And they said, anyone graduating from high school, girl or boy, has to know how to operate AK-47s and pistols. And I said, wow, that's amazing. I said, what are you preparing for? And they looked, and they said, you know. They said, you know what we're preparing for. So I don't know the fate of these two young men and what happened. I met a group of soldiers, and I told them I was an American. Sorry, emotional. They said, thank you for what you're doing. And we got a picture together there. So as I tie up, even the Boy Scouts are at work collecting funds, and they were selling cookies. I bought as many cookies as I could and gave them away just to support what they're doing. So if you ever read an excerpt from my mom's book, who wrote about Ukraine, and her experience one day, my great-grandfather was standing in a field miles away from any trees. It was just wheat fields. And all of a sudden he turned because he felt something was there, and an angel dressed as a Ukrainian woman, vyshyvanka outfit, was floating there above the grain. And he said, why are you here? And the angel said, pray, be strong. Ukraine must suffer much. And then disappeared right before his eyes. So that is our mission spotlight. I should add, in the few moments I have left, if that's okay, I am traveling to Ukraine in 6 weeks. Right now I'm fundraising back on the mainland. I'm not asking for that. But simply, I have to go to Ukraine. I have an invitation to fly with a surgical group to Krakow, Poland. And then we cross the border, and I will be there for nearly 2 weeks. I was told Wednesday, you will be there, and train cars will open, and out will come out grievously wounded soldiers. There will be stab wounds, shot, burned, cut, shrapnel, grenade. They will be terribly in need of wound care. And you and these 15 others, I'm going with a team out of Dallas, you will be doing plastic surgery, you will be doing basic excisions, you will be doing dermatology. I work as a doctor of nursing practice in dermatology. And so we will be there, and they said, be prepared to see the worst thing. And they said, we'll be very close to the front. And if you want to wear a sidearm, you're welcome to. So that is going to be, the one thing I'm asking from you is your prayer, that we be protected. Thank you for allowing me to share this morning.
Amen. Victor.